give everybody just a couple more minutes to get in. I think today is a very relevant topic. Just so everybody knows, we're redoing the addendums. Yeah, we've got an investor addendum, and we also have the new addendum with the three options on it. We are changing some of the language because we've slid into this ridiculous buyer's market, that if you put your home on for 7 day, you do a 7 day event and it doesn't have any offers, we're going to go ahead and automatically extend it until you call us and say take it off. So we're going to
So you
talk
get an
about,
offer.
yeah, talk about that until through some of the strategies that we utilize. Yeah. So Bob Mangino, I got a question for you. I downloaded the Reventure app.
Yes.
Do you do the $30 a month one or do you do the free?
I started with the free. I went to the $30, and then they have a $19 one if you just want one state. And the only one, since I'm only marketing in Florida, I just chose the $19 and it just gives you Florida because that's what I'm just the cities, Naples, Estero, Cape Coral, Fort Myers. I'm just interested in that particular market. So you can just reduce the price down to 19, which helps me. But if you want the whole United States, you're right, it's $39.
Yeah. I like it. It seems to do what we want to do. So look at that. Everybody's showing up. It's awesome.
I think it's nice because you can actually let the sellers see it also, so they can actually see the numbers, and they can also see the trend lines. So it's not like a brand new story for them. It's a story that they can see in charts.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So Kat, I am going to Kat, do we want to start with the addendums and let everybody else sign up before we get into the meat and potatoes of today's call?
I'm glad that you guys are here. You'll give us some feedback. I'm going to ask you guys a question. We're going to look at the improvements to the addendums. The formatting looks cleaner. The language helps you extend your event. But when I am able to pull this up for you guys, I do want to ask you, when you're on a listing appointment, if you've decided that with your seller, if you guys have decided we're going to use the buyer premium model, you don't really need all three options on the addendum, right? You might need all three forms with you in case the seller chooses a different option. So with the show of hands, would you guys like versions of the buyer addendum? One can still have all three options there, but do you want me to make individual versions that don't have an option? It just spells out this one's the buyer premium, this one's the traditional, this one's a split. I'll make all three. You guys would be in charge of downloading and using what forms you want on the listing appointment. And whatever you get to Michelle is what Michelle's going to upload, because that's what's going to have your signature and the seller's signature. But if you guys are willing to print the document that you want to use, I think it'll be much easier on the buyer side if they don't see the other options that aren't being used on that form. So it's going to be on your shoulders, but I'll make all versions. You guys choose what you want. Awesome. Okay, so give me a second, Robert. I'm excited for this because I think it's weird that the buyer sees all the options. It's just confusing to see a bunch of blanks. So when we're looking at this example, it's going to show all three, and we'll make the form with all three options available to you guys, of course, to still use.
Would you also show them where they can get the thing too? Instead of me
Yep.
sending.
Yep. So there's always going to be, and if you were here on Monday, you guys are always going to have one home-based page that, all of the forms will live. You can download them as you need to. I'll drop that in the chat. It's also pinned in the Agent Hub dashboard where all the resources are. Same place you'd go to grab the net sheets. And there's only the old form here right now, but by the end of the day, I can get all the versions up there. And okay. So on the screen right now they will all look nice and clean like this. We don't have any more different colored text and different formatting. It's a lot more streamlined. But the version we happen to be looking at is the buyer addendum that also has an investor option, which means, for example, we have this line where you can designate what percentage of the buyer premium would be going to the investor that you worked with. So say you did a novation or you're working with a flipper, this form would be relevant because you might be working in a buyer premium split to that investor. For the other form, that line won't be there, but it'll look essentially the same way. Any questions on that? I think this is much clearer because we have a total section. And then you'll divvy up what the total is over here, where previously it used to all be in one alignment. And there were times where someone would be doing a 6% buyer premium, but the math wouldn't math. So I think this will help us make sure the math maths. And then we're also making the hybrid option easier to navigate. So whatever the total traditional commission the seller's going to pay, you split it up over here. If there's going to be a buyer premium, you fill it out over here. So if there's going to be a transaction where maybe you have a 3% from the seller and 3% coming from the buyer through a buyer premium, you can do it this way. And of course, if the buyer wants to pay their agent another way, that commission can be worked in as usual, separately from this. We've boxed off all of the information about the listing event. So what is your starting price? When do you want the event to start? Date and time. This of course will all be local time to you guys. And then the offer event ends. You'll notice that there's an asterisk here, and that's where we've added this new criteria. So the offer event time will be designated as stated above. However, the timer extends 2 minutes when an offer is made inside the final 2 minutes. You guys are used to that one. Additionally, if no offers are received, the end date will be extended for 7 days indefinitely until the listing agent requests a final end date or an offer is received. So you guys, this isn't meant to force you for the automatic event enrollment. It's just so you don't need to go back to your seller who's like, yeah, let's just extend it. And then you have to get to Michelle to do all the approvals. We're going to make it automatic. And if you don't want that to happen, you can opt out and Michelle can opt you out of that. And again, we're going to be coaching you a little bit on this and what to do in a buyer's market. My advice to you is don't continue to list it for that 5-day window and just let it roll over. There's still value in deciding, hey, we think this should run for 10 days, 2 weekends. We think this should run for 2 weeks. You should set up your event. Don't let this overtake your planning up here, because it could be detrimental to you if you should be running your listing for 2 weekends to have it set for that one and put buyers under the impression that it already would have been over. So we're gonna coach on that a little bit further on. And then everything else down here is the same. It's just cleaned up. We put the buyer parties together and we put the listing side parties together as far as signatures. So other than that, again, our investor one doesn't have the traditional option because that's just not how we structure, but this will all look clean. The single option ones, I'll try to make 1-pagers for you guys. That we only have to print 1 page. If you know you're going to use just option 1, it won't say option anymore. It'll just explain, and this stuff will follow immediately below it. So look for those. I'll have that done end of day. Any suggestions, anything that you guys would want to see?
This looks great.
Yay.
Yeah, I think that you've put a lot of thought into, what people are seeing. So yeah, Kat, great ideas.
Awesome. I'm glad everybody is on board for single option addendums. Because I always just wonder as a buyer, like looking at this and seeing
Amazing. I love it.
this option being here, but then I see this big old 7% here. I'm like, well, I want to do this option, but we'll just take that out of sight, out of mind. So, and again, that's on you guys to do the work to make sure you have the document you choose to use printed when you go meet with your seller. That way, the ink you have on paper, what you're going to give to Michelle is going to be what she puts up for the buyers to sign. So that's on you guys, but I'm glad you're all with it. So there you go, Robert.
Woo! Woo-wee! You want to stop sharing?
Yep.
Yeah, I can still share. All right, so before we get into the crux, so today is about market conditions, and we're going to talk about some tools that you can use, some tips when you're going out to a listing presentation, stuff that you guys can do to help our sellers understand what the market conditions are. Even though we, tout, 6-7 day offer event, in a strong buyer's market, sometimes we have to make adjustments. We're going to talk about those adjustments. We're going to talk about some tips, some tricks, and some tools that you guys can use to help your sellers. So that being said, so let me go in and share, and let's get into it. All right, so When you are doing your market analysis now, and a great thing to do is take a look. We always want to give our days on market in normal condition, but where do we utilize that? What we want the owners to understand is that if something in that city, if we don't get it priced right, there's a chance that that thing is going to sit on the market even longer than what the market is. Remember, every month as we move harder into the buyer's market, things aren't selling a lot. So you've got to get the owner to understand, and especially for those people that have to sell, you're going to have to be more rigid than ever as an agent to protect them. You're going to have to get them out of their own way. They've got to understand that this is a nationwide deal right now. It's just not your specific area. And you got to do a much better job explaining what market conditions are. And I remember the last time they said it's back when I first got into real estate in 2006 when the market crash happened. I learned so much about how to talk to sellers to get out of their own way, not chase the price down. Let's get this thing sold. Let's price it aggressively. Let's get buyers in there and let's let the buyers choose what the price is. Are there any questions on that? Because we're missing, as a group, we're missing that. We're not doing a very good, and I understand that this has just happened to all of us right now, but it's our job to keep going and going and going and going. Understanding the days on market. So if I'm in a home and I see the average days on market is 90 days, I'm going to price it according to that. And also too, I'm also looking at the price drops that they've done inside that 90 days. Does everybody understand that? All right, and then I just signed on for the Reventure app. I am paying the $30 a month, but it's really cool that it will give me a prediction what's going to happen in 6 months based on that's happening in every MLS, which I thought was really cool. The other place to do that is the title company. Not all title companies will predict that. I use Stewart Title. They do it. And I know for you people in Florida, Integrity Title in Southern Florida, they do it as well. So they'll run you out a Freddie Mac or a Fannie Mae. Established pricing. So these are all the things that we've been talking about for a long time. So this will be available to you guys. What I want to do is I want to get in and let's say that it doesn't sell on the site. What the hell do we do now? What can we show the sellers? What can we double check to see if the platform processes are working? And what can we do to involve the seller and have dialogue with sellers? So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to go to Zillow here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to our site. All this stuff. All right. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to, let's take a look at Mr. Weiland. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Hey, buddy.
Hey,
Do you have this is your home in Chanhassen, Minnesota, right?
yep, that's right.
Any updates for us on what's happening with that?
Yeah, this is probably not a really good example to use in this setting. It didn't sell in the online buyer event. And so now the seller is wanting to pivot and just do a traditional listing.
All right, so what tools did you show them? I mean, I haven't looked up your property yet, so I'm glad you're on this call because we're going to be doing this together. But I'm going to go into Zillow and I'm going to take a look at this thing.
Yes.
The first thing that I'm going to do is what are the buyers looking for on this estimate? Here it says it's worth $227,600. What do you have it listed for, Michael?
227,500.
And what's your buyer's premium?
6%.
So if I add 6% onto it, what do I get?
Not 227,500.
Nine. Well, give me the exact amount.
Okay, hang on.
So, you're funny, man. I love you.
Two 41, 256. So 242.
What is that?
It's about 242.
Yep, that's right.
241.
All right. So
241
Houston, we got a
145.
problem right there because unfortunately these nuts are looking at that, right?
You know,
Yeah.
Zillow was
Your
tricky.
buyers.
Zillow's tricky because Zillow, the Zestimate always adjusts.
Yeah, that happened for my listing too. When before we listed the house, the estimate was 301, 311. And when we listed the house, they dropped the estimate to about what it's worth.
Exactly.
Or
That's
what it was listed at.
Zillow figured out that they got screamed at enough by homeowners and agents that so when you list a property, the Zestimate automatically goes to the list price within a very small range.
Enough to make it look like that's not what they're doing.
Exactly.
Oh, it's off mark. Is it off market, Michael?
No, it's on the market.
Well, look at Zillow doing a good job.
So-
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to get out of yours. So that's the problem here. Let's go back to the. It's not
Use
going to
another
tell me
example.
exactly where it is. Yeah, let me go in. I'm going to go into Michael Nikolai. Yours is saying off market. That's another interesting thing. And I'm not, you guys, by the way, I hate Zillow. I'm not a proponent of it. Unfortunately, all of our agents, that's what they're looking at.
Yeah, and the buyers.
And that's the main reason we have to look at it because the buyers will hit you with that. So we have to be on top of that, knowing that as well, unfortunately.
Exactly it.
Yeah, but I'll show you a good, I don't know why yours is saying it's off market, Michael, when it's still listed. That's beyond stupid. All right, so this is a home, Michael Nikolai. Michael Nikolai, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
All right. You want to give us an update on yours?
I am getting a lot of calls from agents wanting to see the property. So the second week is more active than the first week was. My sellers are bought into the program. In fact, the seller is a real estate agent and wants to join us as soon as his house sells, so that it can, prove it to him that it actually works.
So what I like to do is take a look at this estimate. This one doesn't have a Zestimate. I don't know why it doesn't, but it doesn't. But here's a very useful tool right here that you can help your sellers. How do we know whether the site is making traction or not? So this one's on Zillow. Notice he's got almost 4,000 views and he's got 334 saves. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the search. And then I am going to take a look at all this nuts stuff around here. So this is his home right here. All these homes, and this is indicative of Arizona. All these homes are for sale. So look at the competition that he has on this thing. So everybody remember how many saves he had and how many views? So let's go take a look at the next closest home here and let's see what that has. That's a mobile home. I'm not going to do that. Let's look at this one here. All right. So we go into, this is a for sale. It's been on market for longer than Michael's been on. And then take a look at the 58 days. Everybody see how many views he got? 695, 37 saves. So when people come out and look at the home, they're going to obviously go to Michael's first. I mean, do you think that's really a special? So let's not look at that. Let's take a look at another one. Here's one. Let's go right in the backyard and see what he's got. 119 days, 299 views, and 6 saves. Do you think that means anything to a seller? So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. The reason why I bring this up is, so Michael called me up and said, look, man, it didn't sell. I had, 20 people at the open house and yada, 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 and yada, yada. The first thing I always do is hop on somewhere and go take a look at the views and the saves. We did that yesterday with Michael, and if I were him, I'd go show the seller this versus everybody else in that neighborhood. So he is making traction. What's the difference between him and everybody else in the neighborhood? He's using the EZ real estate platform processes.
Mm-hmm.
You can't manufacture that information. So his home is going to sell, and it's going to sell before a lot of other ones. Remember, that last one we just looked at was on for 109 days and only had 60 views.
Well, and
And
the
three
other one,
saves.
the other one had like 58 days and said it would sell faster, likely to sell faster than 85% of homes, but it was already listed for 58 days.
So you guys can take the stuff and go ahead and go back traditional, raise the price up. What do you think's going to happen? All of a sudden now you're going back. How great are you doing the seller justice, going back and doing the same old traditional stuff that we just showed you is garbage? Why on earth wouldn't you go talk to your seller and show them, hey, we've got traction? And the only reason why we have traction is I'm that less than 1% of the master certified agents that do listings on this platform. I get traction. So I, as Michael Nicolai, if I was talking to a seller, I'm not recommending a price drop right now. This is just a matter of time. We're going to extend this thing out. We're going to get it going. I might do another open house next week, and I don't know. But you got to start talking to seller and what makes sense for them. So let's think Michael Nicolai there. That's just some lucky thing that he got views. Let's go in and check. Michael Graham. Your home's contingent now?
Yes, it is. Look at you guys. You're paying attention. I
Oh
like
my God,
it.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I wanted because before it was contingent, I went and did the same thing on yours, and it was like 4,000 views and 500 and something saves, and yeah,
Wow.
majority of that was after you did the shock the system, the price drop.
Correct. So Robert, you got to hear what happened.
Yeah.
I was on a fourth counter to somebody on that house, and somebody came in, saw the house, was there just for a couple days to actually look and buy a house and go back to Kansas. They're anesthesiologists. They came in at the 575 price, not knowing I already had an offer in because it wasn't on the platform. And I countered them at 650. And I told them, this is it because I've got another counter out to another buyer, and they accepted it. So they wrote an offer of 575, and I countered them at 650, having them assume the solar, and they took it.
Look at that.
So it was the leverage of having the other offer in place that allowed me to get the other offer in.
Good job
and
doing all that.
So,
wonderful job. I mean, so here's the thing, you guys, is Michael and I had a conversation. Well, geez, we're doing all this stuff behind the views off the site. Well, the site did its job by getting the people to there. Whether if they don't go, part of Michael's thing is he shocked the system. But look at what happened. So now 2 of 72 now shocking the system has worked. But the activity that happened because of him doing that created the buyer. So yeah, you guys get to pay the site the 1% that is due, right? We don't get out of paying that just because it didn't sell. Nobody made an offer on the site. This is all about you getting a contract and going into pending and closing your deal. So here's another one. So we will go from Arizona to Florida. This is Christian Fouts. Home's been on for 6 days. Look at the views. 32, 31, 108. And he hasn't done even an open house yet. And look at what he's getting.
Look at the projection.
What do you guys think that, what do you think he'll get at his open house with this many views and saves on Saturday?
He's gonna have a lot of offers and a lot of people.
And look at this.
Other way around.
Likely to sell faster than 99% nearby. Now, do you want to be in that 99% or do you want to be in that 5%? And look at this. Here we go again. Does Christian have competition? I'll answer that. All right, so here's another home. Been on for 12 days. Hey, well, not bad though. But what Christian's at 3,500. This one's got 1107. Christian has 300 and something saves. This one has 70. He's been on half the time and he's got triple. All right, so all these things matter. They should matter to you and they should matter to sellers. Let's take a look at
I
it.
think a good way to compartmentalize what Zillow is able to show us is, you know, you heard the term stop the scroll when you're on social media. You want to make an ad on Facebook that makes people stop their scroll and read your post. Well, the data of who's viewing and saving is indicative that somebody has stopped their scroll while looking through property listings.
Here's another home that's
Oof.
same category, 70 days, 550 views, 54 saves. 70 days on Zillow, and that's all they've got. And now that it's gone beyond the 30-day mark, they don't even put the likelihood it'll sell down. And so these things matter to sellers and they should matter to you. Are there any questions about how to utilize? Again, I'm not a Zillow fan. I'd like shoot myself in the head every time I go on that stupid site. But you know what? It does prove useful in a buyer's market.
Robert, I do have a question though.
Sure.
Back to where you were saying that, why would you go back to trying to sell the property the traditional way and leaving the easy platform? Isn't that going to bring up a red flag in the market to other people that have looked at the property at a lower amount and then you're now increasing the price on it?
That's what I would think as a buyer, because I always look at the price history.
It does, but it's not overcomable. I mean, basically, by giving up on the site, you're going to lose every bit of traction they had going. All these people that are pulling this stuff, I mean, again, I get that we profess, we also got to be negotiable. We got to keep thinking above the box. If now, if I were to show these homes that are on the thing and they were the same run of the mill, 100 showings, 7 saves, I wouldn't have much to say to my seller, would I? In fact, I'd say, take it off. Go back to traditional. It doesn't matter at that point. But when you've got traction in a buyer's market, there's something to be said about that. There's a time to adjust the price a little bit more, and there's a time not to. You know, inside of your first month, 14 days. Let's see what the traction happens between 0 and 14, 0 and 7, and 7 and 14. That stuff matters. If buyers stop looking at it, buyers stop saving it, maybe it's time to lower it down just a touch again to get respark the energy out of it. But your sellers are going to be more likely to stick with this process because I don't care what anybody says. The site does its job simply, and your job is to get more buyers looking at the house. There's a mechanism that most buyers and sellers are looking at every day. They want to look at their estimate. They want to look see who's looking at, who saved it. This and that, and that's every seller and buyer I know are on Zestimate looking at the stuff. So are there any other questions about Zillow?
I'm just trying to learn from this, that's all, so that if I get into a scenario like this, how to
Sure.
approach it. So with Mike in his scenario, so would it be best for him to just go back and try to convince his clients to just sit on it for a little bit and then if need be, go on and try to lower the price to see if people will buy it at a lower price and then start the interest and maybe then the bidding would start on the property?
Well, I'm going to answer that from anytime you guys get into this thing where you're pulling it off site in 7 days in this market, we haven't done a good job with our seller. We haven't talked about current market conditions. We haven't talked about what to expect. And the other thing is too, it's too bad that for some reason his isn't compiling those saves. Somehow when Zillow says it's active again, he's going to be able to go back and see that. I would have liked to have seen the traction on it. Right? And that's where we got to go back to the seller and say, no, this isn't the site function. because we've got the buyers looking at it. You just got to prove to them that it's working. All these homes that everybody takes off after 5-6 days, and I go into Zillow and I take a look, it's like, what the hell are they taking it off for? They're not going to, and so you go back and bump it up to market price, you're going to come back down to the normal, what everybody else is getting. And that's at 100 views in 70 days and 5 saves. How is that representing your seller?
You know, I'm looking at the MLS here in Arizona, and they've got, you know, how many people have looked at it and how many times it's shared and all of that. And I've got 825 emails from people looking through searches. I've got 79 times that somebody emailed this property to somebody else to look at. You know, that's buyer to buyer. So, you
They
know,
call that reverse prospecting. So we were going to get into that in just a minute. In your MLS, every single one of you can do reverse prospecting. You can go back, and Mona and I use it all the time. We go back for those people that have looked, the people who have saved it, yada, yada, yada. And we'll put in a tidbit about what separates property, or maybe I'll even send them the walkthrough video on there. These are all the things that somehow or another cannot be getting done when you inside of 7 days. And I would really encourage you, before you pull it off and stop the marketing completely off of it, and let your owner know it's going to sit for another, you know, whatever the days on market, 90, 120, 180. You better start telling them that when I take it off this and we do it, we put it back on traditional, now we're getting sucked into what everybody else is going through. You're not going to get the buyer traction. You're not going to get the reverse prospecting. And not only that, what is a house going to be worth in 6 months at the end of that listing term? All right. So we're going to move right into MLS stuff. So I don't need to go through the reverse prospect. Everybody understand that? Everybody has something mechanism called, in Northwest, it's called Info Sparks. It's where you can see the history behind what the MLS is doing as a whole. Does everybody have that or something like it?
Yes.
Okay. So you can pull up areas. You can pull up what type of property types. You can pull up price ranges if you want. You can pull up bedroom sizes, previously owned, and yada, yada, yada. You can go 2 years. You can go 3 years. You can do it by that, or you can do it monthly, year to date, rolling 12 months. So all of these all these things matter when you're pulling stuff out. And you can do graphs if you like lines better, you can do graphs. But the amazing thing on this here is 2025, we are 12% down, 11.7% down from last year on home selling. In King County, then for all of you who don't know, in King County, that's the biggest county in Washington. I have never, ever in my existence of being a Washington real estate agent, I have never seen the prices drop. They're always going up, 10 to 15% a year. And here we are 6 months into it, and we're down 11.7% already. If we take that, everybody can see this minus 11.7. If we take that number and then we start figuring out what's it going to be down in another 6 months, is it safe to say, unless we get a new Fed chairman, is it safe to say that thing might drop another 11%? You better believe it. That's 22% in Seattle, and I guarantee you Seattle's market is probably better than 90% of us here. I think California's better. I think I think Minnesota might even be better. But I know that Nevada has just slid into a buyer's market. Florida, you guys have been dealing with that nonsense for a long time. So all these tools are there for you. The other tool that I just got and I just started using it, it's called Reventure. And Bob Mangino is the one who told me about it. I think he told all of us about it. And I don't have enough to know, but it's $30 a month for nationwide, and it's $19 a month if you just want it for your own state. But it is building in what homes values are going to be. Bob, it goes up to a year, right?
Correct. Yeah, it really does give you the trends and graphs so where your buyers can actually see how much prices are dropping, which is really quite helpful.
So all of these tools, you guys, you've got to represent your buyer better now than you ever have before. If the interest rates don't start dropping, it's going to slide deeper into a buyer's market. And yeah, I know our new regime is actually picking a new Fed chairman next week, he said, because he's tired of the one he has right now is not dropping the interest rates. And the two things he's worried about, the paying interest on debt. I heard somebody say yesterday it was like, I don't know, some $90 billion or some idiotic amount. So, and also for home rates, we need those to come down. And then I think the economy is going to be hitting on all cylinders. And I do believe they're going to come down. But the question is what do we do right now? For those of you who are contemplating taking the stuff off the site, I'm telling you, do some homework, and you should explain to your sellers what you're going to do by taking it off site and going traditional.
I would say, Robert, too, not just even for your current clients, but imagine going on your next listing appointment and being able to say, like, look, this is what I'm achieving for my other listings in the market that we're in right now. This listing versus the houses nearby, I'm getting 3 times the views, 3 times the saves, blah, 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 blah. So if you guys do those exercises for your own knowledge, screenshot, take a snapshot of the data you're comparing it to.
So I'm going to open the floor. Mike Weiland, what do you think?
Well, I
Be
need
honest.
to be working harder for my sellers is the bottom line. Although I thought I was, but in this particular case, it seems like I'm battling my seller instead of, battling the market. So this has been an interesting client.
Hey, did you get the novation? Are you going to be our first one? I just got something from your wife.
Yeah, we're working on it. We just need to get it signed off on. We had a call yesterday, so it's looking like it's moving in the right direction.
Michael Weiland, stud of all, is going to be the first one to get the novation. Greg, you have anything to say?
Are we familiar with, I don't think we talked about the Atlanta team, did we, or did we?
Should we look at that real quick?
Well, it's just good news. I don't know if it's exactly pertinent to what your request was, but we struggled with the Atlanta house. Atlanta's like, let's say right here, and the house is a little bit on the outskirts. And as we know, particularly in Phoenix, I don't know anywhere else USA. Actually, I do know a lot of places elsewhere USA because of my clients. The outskirts almost always get hit first. They go softer, quicker, faster. Usually, there's exceptions. So the Atlanta deal, they went on. I think they got 4 people through the house the first week. They extended, maybe like 6, but not really a lot of juice. Nobody like fired up, nobody making bids, nobody making offers, just 4 or 5 bodies kind of perusing. And then I think they extended, and then I guess a week. And then I think they extended a week, and last Friday night, out of nowhere, Michelle got a pre-qual for $399, and it was on EZ for $320, I believe, something like that. So a pre-qual at $399 was great because that's right where the client wants to be. So I don't know exactly what happened after that from Friday pre-qual to right now. And I mean, right now it's Thursday, but I think the agents and the buyers, they've been arm wrestling the whole time, right? Trying to muscle it, and it just muscled, and it finally landed. And I think they got the contract signed yesterday, and the final addendum is supposed to be today. So it's not 100% done, but almost.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
The chances are inside that marketplace, if I were to go look, I'm sure it's gonna be like Seattle. Homes are probably on market for 90
Yeah,
to
it
120 to 160 days.
when we looked a
And
week
we
ago,
did-
that's what it was.
Is 3 weeks better than 6 months going
Oh,
into
yeah.
contract?
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it.
You guys, you got to know this. This is the basic real estate 101. We got to know our numbers. We got to know what can happen. What we don't want to stop the traction that's happening. And you go back and go traditional, you've stopped every bit of traction you get. And not only that, you just confuse the hell out of the buyers that were into it. Because they're going to say, oh, they went up in price. Oh, the seller must have done some work on the inside of the house or something. But Greg, that perfect to bring up. What we tout on the EZ platform is we cut your sales time in half at least. Generally, we're cutting it, we're cutting it well beyond that. So why would we panic about leaving something on the site for 3 weeks when we got momentum going?
And that's still less than half the time of the typical days on market. So
Greg, very good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
I mean, if the market adjusts, we better adjust, whatever that adjustment might be. What I saw is a lot of people did the 5 right now in front of my eyes, and a lot of people failed. Handfuls of people just extended a week or two, and half of those succeeded.
it's looking at your days on market and aiming for half the time. So an offer accepted in half the time of whatever your current market days on market for that property type, right? Because if you're selling a condo versus standalone, it might be different. So make sure you're looking at your numbers. And then I would say to get an offer accepted in half that time, you'd probably want your event running a few days, ending a few days before that half mark, because you're going to have negotiations. So say you're aiming for offer accepted in 21 days. You at least want 2 weekends and space before and after that for your event to run. If your market's taking longer, if you're in one of those 100-day markets, offer accepted might be looking more towards the 30 days, not 21. So maybe run it for 3 weekends, and you don't need to do an open house every weekend. You can be live for a week and let people know you have an open house coming up the second weekend. And hey, you know what? Plan for that. Give them extra time to plan. Because in a market like this, more people are probably moseying around. And don't forget, Joy had a great idea. I believe it was on Monday's call. We are drastically reducing the prices of these properties. They are steeply discounted. They are in cash offer investor limits, right? Cash buyers have their upper ceiling. If we're steeply discounting these properties, they might be right below that upper ceiling. So market these properties to your cash buyers list. If you don't have one, start building one. Talk to people that are, in REI clubs in your town. Even do a LinkedIn local search for anyone with investor in their name and get them on your list. What type of properties are you looking for? What are your target acquisitions? Can I add your contact info? And then boom, when you have a match, send your listing out to, you should do it for all your listings, not just easy ones, and get that initial interest, because that could be your first offer on the platform. So all of these things, all of these steps are the thing to do.
I don't know, Kat, if you can hang on for a couple more minutes, because I got to get off, you guys. I got a hard meeting at noon.
Yeah.
But I'd like to hear from a couple more people. Kenneth Collins. But listen, don't lose the traction. Understand what you have by pricing it where you're pricing it. Talk to your sellers. Do a better job explaining to them about market conditions. Yeah, I used to like 2021, everything closed. I put it on the platform Thursday. I was in contract on Tuesday. I love that. We're not there now, right now. Don't fret if you have to extend it. Do your job. Explain it to your sellers. I got to drop off. Thanks, everybody.
All right. See you, Robert. Okay, guys, I was going to say, let's brainstorm. So what should you be thinking about when you're planning your EZ offer event? How many weekends do you want to do an open house? Because just because you're doing a longer event doesn't necessarily mean you have to do multiple open houses. You could do one, but you might have a bigger on-ramp of time for people to plan. Or you could say, look, if my seller's fine with it, let's do more than one open house. Maybe we want to do more open houses, but we'll do them for shorter windows of time. So rather than doing a 4 to 6 hour open house one time, maybe we're going to do 2 with shorter windows to try to condense the time on 2 different days. What should we be doing when we're ready to put the listing up? Are we ready to market this to our list of buyers and do a social media blast and see if we get any traction before we even do an open house? What's my game plan for that? Once we've been live for 7 days, what should I be looking for as a check-in? Obviously, you want to look at any activity on the platform, but I want to go and see if there's Zillow saves. And if there's something I can celebrate with my seller, I should be reaching out and saying, look at all this activity compared to what other people have. And then what should I be doing at 14 days? And if we get into the mode of knowing our timeline and what we're supposed to be doing at every step, we'll be a lot more accountable for taking the action we should be taking to having a successful event.
A couple things too I wanted to add. I think we're seeing that as real estate agents, we need to do a little more due diligence on the front end, the middle, like just Kat said, and on the back end. So I think when we're doing our current market analysis, we need to not just run a quick CMA and, oh, this is kind of what the market's saying. I think we need to delve in, see what, just like what we did. Hey, how much, what's average time on market? Everyone should know what the absorption rate is for that zip code. And have that, you on all your MLSs, you can print that sheet out. And you need to have that actual conversation with your clients. Like, this is the absorption rate. They're probably like, what does that mean? That it means time on market. Why is that important? And at least the one I run, it shows you 2024, 2025. What's the difference? Can you see the difference here? I just put up a couple of charts that I ran off of just some information that I got from Emin and different news sources about kind of the buyer's market we're in now. These are good information to share with your sellers. Talking about time on market, how it's increased dramatically nationwide. Talking about, so again, this, you need to have that whole, you need to do a little more research on the front end, not just a quick market analysis, but know exactly what is occurring in that zip code that you're selling your property. You know, are we getting a lot of buyers in that area? Is it a slow area? Is this a suburb that's really getting hit harder than it is in the heart of the city? Or, you know, what is exactly happening in the zip code specifically? So we need to share that, right? And so that's going to come into our pricing conversation. So we need to say, hey, look, we're just showed you all of the reasons why pricing is even that much more important in today's market than it ever was. So we can't just have that, well, okay, like, what do we want to price it at now? Like, given all this information I just shared with you, do you not see how important pricing can be? And then have that conversation. And then obviously, like she was saying, in the middle, making sure we're watching things, making sure that we're tracking social media posts, making sure I always create social media posts that engage with me. So people, I put out quick information like on a Zillow, or not Zillow, on a Facebook marketplace ad where people have to DM me directly for information. So I'll just put 1 or 2 pictures. Hey, for more information on this property, DM me. So I always get DMs, at least 10, 20. And my response to them is just to invite them to the open house. Oh, you're interested in the property? Great. We're having an open house, this. And then I can always, always go back to them. And same thing with the open house. I make them fill out information telling me what they think about the property, not just, hey, I showed up. Like, what do you think? I have them fill out an actual form that says, what did you like about the property? What did you dislike about the property? What do you think about the price? So I can take that to my seller and be like, hey, look, this was our actual feedback. So I have to be better at gathering information that I can share. You got to be a little bit, you know, sleuthful and be a detective in that. And that's how you're working for your clients, is I'm continually gathering information throughout this process so that I can share it with you. It's just not, again, oh, we put it up there.
Everything that you do to market your property, if there's a way that you can capture who would be looking, saving, trying to interact with you, the reverse prospecting pipeline. When Joy does get an offer, she has more people she can reach out to. It doesn't even need to be someone that came to the open house. It could be someone that messaged her on Facebook following her call to action in one of her marketplace posts and saying, hey, you know what, we are feeling out offers. Were you interested in this? You want to call real quick and, you know, take it from there. Whereas if Joy didn't have that, she'd have that offer and she'd be sitting waiting for someone else. Or maybe she could follow up with someone that signed in on the open house sheet. But that one idea that Joy's doing probably gives her a handful more of people to see, are you interested or not, when there is an offer. And that's how you start getting that leverage, even when it's a buyer's market.
You can even do things, and I'm getting more information about this. I haven't done it yet, but I've known people that have done it. So I'm going to investigate and I'll happy to share. But you can create a little video and actually put it on your first picture on Zillow. That is a text message where they have to directly text message to you if they want information about the property. So you can create a specific number to do that and then track it that way. So I'm going to try and see how that works too.
Do you have to be a member of Zillow to be able to do that, or is just you can just anyway?
It's because those are your pictures. You're putting it on the picture itself.
Okay, so it's not the pictures that they pull off the MLS to populate them. You can add one directly to Zillow?
Well, yeah, but I mean that's where Zillow's getting those pictures are from you. So that's where, and you can even on Zillow, like you can go, because it's your listing, you can go change what the actual picture is, your first picture.
Wow. Didn't know that. Thank you.
Yep. FYI, you can do that if you get permission for other people's listings as well.
Hey, Kenneth.
Hi.
How was your vacation? Did you take it for
fine.
all of us?
And one of the things that Kat mentioned earlier is something that I always do. I'm a member of one investment club, pretty large one here in the San Fernando Valley. And I always send it out to those guys. I also send it out to all my buyer list. I don't care if I'm working with a seller that's a hard nose, that doesn't want to listen and wants their price, or you know, I've got to the point where I've got to talk to a seller and let them understand, you know, how the market is now as opposed to how they think the market is. But I always send it out first to my buyer list so that my buyer can have a look at it. And I've gotten some good offers just from using my buyers up front. And I've sold 2 properties last year that went quickly, and it was just from my buyers list. I never had an opportunity. Well, I did put it on the MLS, but I didn't get the buyers from the MLS.
Yeah, I think it's just a great way to get that first offer ready to go. So imagine people are, you know, exploring and they're thinking about like, oh, or imagine even at your open house, you can have your, I don't know if you want to bring a tablet or whatever, you have a screen sitting there, or people can register on the platform and they see that somebody's already put in an offer.
Right.
And again, it's not just, oh, there's competition. It's also somebody else has used this platform. It's not scary. It's not hard to do. I can create an account and put an offer in. So just getting over that, you know, social proof someone has used this thing and done it before me, I can do that too. So it overcomes 2 hurdles.
Exactly. I'm gonna turn off my camera now because I'm in the car. So.
Sure. Thank you, Kenneth. Since we are over the hour anyway, does anyone, I mean, does everyone have a grasp? It obviously has to be adjusted to your own numbers, but everybody should be thinking about what's my timeline for this listing? What practical considerations do I need to make, and what should I be doing at each and every step? And those things might look different for you guys, but whatever works for you, it's got to adjust and fit the market.
Great meeting, everyone. This really helped.
Yeah. Anything else? Final thoughts, you guys?
The conversations about days on market and how we are faster than all the rest of them, that's really important because, you know, again, in the seller's market, having the 5-day Thursday to Tuesday, you know, being normal, that's great. But when we're in this buyer's market, we've got to have that ammunition. And so thank you. That's something I really didn't consider before.
Yep, aim for half the time, offer accepted in half the time. And remember, I always like the language. It's not just about the seller getting their home sold. That's seller facing language. But if you say offer accepted in, that's the win for the buyer too. So choose the right language for the audience that you'd be speaking to. Buyers want to get their offer accepted in half the time. That's way better language for a buyer to hear than seller selling fast, right? Buyer offer accepted in half the time. It's just a beautiful thing. So there we go, you guys. Great participation. You guys know I love it. I have a meeting with Jeff after this about our leads program. And then I'll be working on those addendums. So the investor one's up there right now, but I'm very happy that you guys are embracing separate standalone addendums. It's going to make me so happy. So those will be ready for you guys. That'll be my project for this evening. So when the replay goes out for this call, I'll also include a link to that addendum page as well. Make sure you're in our Facebook group if you're not already in there. We post a lot of updates in there. Let me put a link in the chat and then we'll close this out.
Speaking of that Facebook group, if you guys, when you have a listing and it goes live, post it in the Facebook group so we can all go to your Facebook page that you or Facebook Marketplace that you've created it and chat about it, like it, share it.
Okay, so the Facebook link is in the chat, you guys. It's just the Easy Listing Specialist community if you want to search it. We do also have our public group, but remember the community one will have a better idea of what to do with the easy specific questions. All right, you guys, thank you so much. A replay coming out tomorrow and next week, 4th of July holiday coming up around the corner. Joy, are you still doing a Wednesday training or a master training?
No.
Okay. And then
We're
we
off next
will
week.
not have a topic Thursday next week because the next day is going to be the holiday. You know, people are traveling. So we'll have our Monday call, no Thursday next week, and then we'll resume. So with that being said, see you guys Monday. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning into Easy Real Estate Platform's Topic Thursdays. We hope to see you again next week and make sure you check out our Facebook groups. The links are in the description.